I'm Jody Emery. I'm Marc Emery's wife, and he's actually just doing a little interview with the news out there. But I do typically introduce him at various speaking engagements to explain how I got to know about him and why I would like you to help bring him back to Canada as soon as he starts his prison sentence. So when I first started finding out about marijuana, I was actually in high school. I used to be very anti-drug. I was a leadership star student. I was close to the principal and every teacher, and they all expected me to do great things. And my friends who were the stoners read Cannabis Culture magazine and watched something called Pot TV. And they knew about this guy named the Prince of Pot, Marc Emery. And I thought, well, that's an interesting character. So I read the magazine and checked him out online along with all the other Vancouver personalities in the activism scene. And I began to realize that my stoner friends were actually more critically minded, intelligent, and aware than my teachers and my fellow students were. And I became very frustrated with the fact that my teachers and fellow students just seemed to follow a very narrow line and didn't think outside the box and didn't ask questions. And my teachers were all saying, don't ask questions, just, do the test. They didn't really encourage a lot of question asking, and my friends who smoked pot did. And they knew about everything going on in the world. They knew about the war in Afghanistan and Iraq and everything that was happening around the world, and no one else was talking about these things, about the oil wars and about pharmaceutical companies and about the military-industrial complex and these very important issues. And so I decided, well, maybe I'll try a little bit of pot. It's not hurting these guys. They're pretty intelligent. They're smart thinkers. They're not something I should be afraid of. And if they're smoking pot and that's helping them, then maybe I should try it and see how it works. And I did. I drank beer for the first time that night, too, and I just didn't care for it, so that didn't continue. But I got really involved in the scene. I really felt passionate about the fact that so many people are put in jail and arrested and their lives are ruined because of possession or relationship of any kind to a plant. And nobody should be going to jail for a plant. It's absolutely absurd. And not just any plant, but the most useful plant ever put on this earth, one that could end the oil wars. We could use it for fuel. We could stop cutting down our forests. We could replace so many very important parts of our industry with this plant that can save us, and therefore the phrase "health can save the world" is very true, and I take that to heart, and as does Marc. So when I started smoking pot and getting involved in this, and then I became kind of a teacher's nightmare because I didn't really want to go to class anymore. I didn't really want to listen to them, and to them I became a bad student, but really I feel I was becoming a good citizen in that I was asking questions and that I wasn't following the rules as they laid them out and expected us to follow them. So I moved to Vancouver ultimately to get to know Marc Emery and the fellow Vancouver activists. And I started by going to rallies and writing letters to the newspaper. Very simple things that most people do when they first get into the scene. And it became very personal when Marc went to jail in 2004 for passing a marijuana joint. And so when people say nobody goes to jail for pot, you can say they do. They can pass a joint and get 3-month sentences in jail. And that's what happened to Marc. And while he was there, he wrote every night. He would read a lot of books and he would do a lot of thinking. And every night he would write for a couple hours. And the next day he would call up to Pot TV and read aloud what he had been thinking about, what he was going through. And there'd be days where he was really angry and said, we should kill all our oppressors because they're trying to kill us. And then other days he would say, no, we need to forgive our enemies because they don't know how wrong it is what they're doing. But as he went up and down and through this time, every night when he would write those things and then record it, somebody had to transcribe it so everyone could read what he was writing and not just listen to it. So every night I would spend a number of hours listening to every word and typing them out and getting to know him very well and his mission and his history and why he was so devoted to what some people might think is pointless or silly. Like, why do you care about marijuana, people ask. And it's because it's not just about marijuana. It's about drug prohibition. It's about a war against people who are not hurting anyone else. And when you put someone in jail for a nonviolent crime when they're not hurting anyone else and they're just doing something to themselves, you know there's something seriously wrong in society. And when you have police officers and politicians and lobbyists working to make those laws even worse, to put even more people in jail, then we've really got to do something about that. And that's why we have information out there about Bill C-15. It's a new law being introduced, and our Senate has to pass it. It's almost law. And it's mandatory minimums. And we all know America is not a safe place. We all know that the United States is not a country we want to emulate. And yet our government, the conservative government, is trying to do that by introducing these mandatory minimums. And that means if you get caught growing a couple plants and selling them to your friend who has AIDS or Crohn's disease or cancer, you will go to jail automatically. Even if the judge agrees that, yes, you did it medically and shouldn't go to jail, you didn't hurt anybody, you didn't have weapons, mandatory minimums require you go to law. And that's why so many Americans, 1 in 100 Americans, are in jail for drugs and for marijuana, and it's absolutely absurd. So Marc has been trying to change that for decades. He's been devoting his life and his money, and I just found him to be a very heroic figure. And when he was in jail, I did fall in love with him, got to get to know him a lot better in all these years. I've worked with him in Cannabis Culture magazine. I've run in provincial election campaigns for the BC Marijuana Party, but more recently I ran for the BC Green Party because they believe in ending prohibition. And now the federal Greens want me to run in the next federal election. So I owe a lot of this to Marc because he was very wise and gave me a lot of guidance and education, and I feel that I can help change things as everybody else can too. Because Marc is a leader himself, but he also inspires many others to become leaders too. So Marc has been doing a farewell tour across the country. We've gone to many different cities, and people have brought him, and we've had different crowds in different places, and he's a brilliant man with very wise words. So without further ado, here's your Prince of Pop, Marc Emery.
It's not like me to be stuck behind a microphone or anything. So can you hear me now at the back? Am I clear? Okay, great. I'll talk like this. My name is Marc Emery, and this one is a bit different. This is the 23rd city on our farewell